to Zerg. He's shown us his excellence in Terran versus Protoss, but now he needs to complete the package.
Yes, he does. All right, let's get back into game number 2. Let's do those intros one more time as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner. It's our blue Terran representing Team Acer. Give it up for MMA. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our red Terran representing Red Bull, true in colors. Give it up for Bomber.
Both of these players, the reigning champion of their respective region in Season 3 of the World Championship Series. Bomber, of course, the American champion coming into this, and MMA, the European. Two very different builds, though, to start this up. We've seen MMA take a gas first here, so he's looking to play potentially similar to what he did before, which going for the fast refinery like this in the first gas pretty much gives you 100 gas when the barracks completes. When the barracks completes, the factory tech is unlocked, bam, the factory is planted, and he can start to play aggressive from that standpoint. On the other side of things, though, Bomber's played more of a regular opening here. This is something we see a lot more common in other matchups. It's the Reaper expansion here. So he's going to have a much faster command center, but he's also going to have this Reaper which can poke in, poke out, scout a little bit, maybe harass, but more importantly, gather information. And then more simply, we have MMA, who needs to be the aggressor in this standpoint because he's not focused so much on his economy, and we need to see Bomber naturally become the defensive player, protecting his lead that he'll gain from this faster command center.
And overall, with the spawning positions, you're eventually expanding away from your opponent, unlike in cross positions, where you're kind of expanding towards your opponent. So this game could not only go very, very long, but also, I mean, we could see an entire map divide if it does get that long, which can be a very, very scary position.
Yeah, in these positions, the center Zell Naga Tower is the most important part the longer the game goes. If you control that center Zell Naga Tower, you control the middle of the map. And like you said, once you get 4 expansions, you have to expand away from your opponent. If he controls the map, you aren't going to do that, and he can. He'll gain the more money, he'll bring in the more money, and he will overrun you the longer the game goes. So it's going to be very important, that part of the map here. But looks like MMA's taking off his headset for a sec, did ask for a pause, whereas Bomber is just kind of sitting patiently and kind of smiling at that pause. I think he's feeling very confident today, Kalaris. Yeah. I mentioned he's on fire, he's on form recently, and coming into this, he's got the, in the round of 16 against Jaedong, he promised 100% win.
And he did it again just now.
He promised 100% win against MMA. You can't get more confident than that.
No, exactly. He's looking good so far, looking good. Game number 1 was a real tout to that overall, as he looked so strong, despite not having the upgrade advantage. And right now, in this, on Deadwing, you know, we could see a similar scenario play out. We could do.
Yeah, I mean, if Bomber wins this game, he's just setting himself up to slam dunk the series. It's that simple. And MMA is going to have a very difficult time coming back against a world-class player like Bomber is. So very, very important for MMA fans, for Acer fans. But here on Deadwing, with the 2 openers that we've chosen here, Bomber has already got a bit of information. He doesn't know exactly what's going on because, well, okay, now he does with the Reaper going in. He knows exactly what he's playing against. He even takes out the first Marine. And now all of a sudden, MMA is being pressured. He's has to pull an SCV off to actually, you know, to not die, but it dies anyway. The starport was delayed a quick second there. And already, Bomber just starting off this series excellently. Full information, a little bit of harassment, and he's got all information.
Yeah, very, very good overall. And Bomber is the kind of guy also, I mean, I don't think we touched on it too much before, but he's the kind of guy who has such variance in his builds that if he wants to later on, he can also go make himself, which is a very, very scary thing to look at when you look at how good his Marine tank play is, and then even if he's able to mix and mech himself, it becomes a very, very hard puzzle to solve for MMA on the other end.
Well, at this point, MMA is going to figure out what he's playing against. He knows that Reaper opening, he now 100% confirms that the command center's there, even though he probably knew that was the case anyway. And it looks like the Hellion's going to get the better end of this Reaper here. One more hit, and then that will go down. And he already knows kind of what he's playing against here, but we see a very defensive setup coming out from Bomber. Engineering Bay coming in for turrets. Widow Mines coming in to deal with the Banshees. And a couple of Hellions to deal with this, and he does deal with that Hellion quite well here.
And depending on where he puts those Widow Mines, it could get very
look
sticky.
at MMA. He hasn't decided to switch up and go for a command center. He's added on a second tech lab onto the factory. And at this point, he is dedicating a lot of resources to his one base. We're going to see Banshees, we're going to see tanks, we're going to see Marines come down here. He needs to break Bomber with this type of push. If he doesn't break Bomber, because he's not trying to get a command center in, the game just naturally ends. This is a massive moment here for MMA.
Yeah, it's big. It's very big because overall, this is a very strong push. You have so much control with that, with the space at the front, having those siege tanks. Bomber's getting a Viking mixed in.
Bomber doesn't know what he's playing against, so these Hellions are very important. If he gets over there, sees the lack of command center, maybe even sees a tank, he can start to build towards this, because right now he does not know what he's playing against. He does not have sufficient defense to deal with this currently. This is a big part of this game. MMA is going to start to move out here. He needs to get some damage done to slow Bomber down.
He may be too preoccupied with dealing with these Banshees for now. I mean, the missile turret's in a good spot to be able to deny that. Here comes the Viking as well. That Banshee should be just out of range.
It's only Hellions, though. Hellions aren't that good against tank Marine pushes here. And for the first time, Bomber's going to see exactly what he's playing against. And now comes the question, can Bomber hold on? He's 10 supply behind, and he's 3 workers ahead, which really strengthens the army size that MMA currently holds.
It's going to be scary. That Banshee, if he was to eliminate the Banshees, then he would have an okay situation going on. That's actually going to run out of energy pretty soon, so those Vikings chasing is very, very important.
Yeah, this is a big move there, and already we see a bunker rush coming in from MMA. He's got the siege on the expansion. A second Banshee comes in. A very important moment here for both players. This can end really fast. But here come the Hellions.
Very few units here. Those Hellions were actually being focused down by the Banshee to start things off, but if he can get the Banshee...
Banshee's going to escape it. Gets out the vision range of the scan. And MMA holds on to that Banshee, very important. Another one's inside the main base, getting some extra kills. An armory's about to finish up, so we will see Hellbats to help defend this.
He needs any unit he can get at this point, but again, because he has so many Hellions, it makes sense to do that. The siege tank also being sieged up at this range now.
This is it. He's going to try and break it. Hellbats is the choice. Does he break it? Vikings landing, here we go.
All right, here we go. Those Hellbats trying to march on forwards. They're going to tank up a lot of damage here. There's only second siege tank at the back as well. He needs to try and close the gap. He's actually doing a pretty good job with these Hellbats, but once he deals with that, the Banshee isn't going down at all either, so he's still going to take a lot of damage. Those Vikings need to be up and doing what they need to do.
Yeah, fantastic defense there from Bomber, and does push this back. Banshee's still a threat, but currently so are these Hellions and Vikings, so you've got to think about the counterattack possibilities here for Bomber as well. MMA is in the lead with 8 workers. It was a successful attack. It didn't kill Bomber, but as long as he doesn't die to a potential counter, then he's going to be able to move into the middle part of this game with a lead.
Yeah. Overall, really equalizing things up and then propelling himself forwards here as MMA just a little bit. Maybe the double command center being done can, kind of make up for a few of the SCVs here for Bomber, but overall, it doesn't look like he's moving out just yet. So.
No, it's not, and as the command center of MMA finishes up now, which Bomber not 100% certain is there, but can start to imagine it is, considering the pressure's held off for now. But a good deflection there from Bomber, but MMA successful with the push, does gain a 6-worker lead. And Bomber building 2 Medivacs currently. Medivacs, pretty useless for a defensive player at this stage of the game, but very useful if you're going to lift up some units to start to harass the mineral lines here. With Viking support still around, maybe he wants to keep them at home in case there's Banshees still present. This can deal a lot of damage, with MMA having the majority of his army in the middle of the map here. He's not expecting this type of counter, this type of move from Bomber. And he doesn't really have... Well, he's got a few units there.
And the Viking will give him heads up as well, right? So he should be okay against this, as long as it doesn't somehow find its way to the mineral line and get some good shots off. But this is already a really good warning.
Yeah. If the Marines come in to snipe that Medivac, then it's going to go down, and simple Viking is going to be good enough to stop that. But here come 4 for Bomber. He's going to get onto this Banshee and then open up this right flank, but this does give MMA time to get, more defense there, so...
Exactly. It gives him that little opportunity. And he's trying to head over to the natural, but he's finding the one spot of... but it has been spotted in the end, and he starts focusing on the weakened Medivac again. And one more shot would have done big damage.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Bomber can't find a weakness in MMA, so MMA continues to hold on to the lead he established. He's got a worker supply, but more importantly, he's got just an overall army supply advantage now.
It's going to be mech for Bomber here. So again, as we said at the beginning, no stranger to it. There is a bit of vulnerability here, though, for Bomber later on. We've seen him actually be spearheaded through the middle when he sets himself up in odd locations with his mech. And MMA having the advantage he has with his Marine tank, he could just try and push through. He's already acting on the Marauders as well.
So yeah, a clash of styles now. The classic bio play versus the meching play at this point. I'm not too sure what he's looking to do here. He's kind of killing his own turret. Maybe it's kind of disrupting the worker line. He'd rather just get rid of it than have some extra defense against Banshees. But mech versus bio, MMA stim is almost done. From this point on, Bomber must transfer everything he had planned in the series. If he was planning to be the aggressive player, must sit back and play defensive now. MMA needs to take map control, needs to be the aggressor, and needs to be the one controlling the pace of the game. Needs to be the player using those medivacs he's famous for. Needs to start getting and finding weaknesses and areas to exploit to further his lead. The longer the game goes, and if Bomber gets closer and closer to a large army, the easier of a time he'll have defending with a few units, and then striking straight through the middle with a mech army that's meant to be unbreakable.
And in the end, for now, for Bomber, there's only actually one siege tank out. He's having to add on these extra 2 just to really kind of catch up. He needs that like strong fortification position really to be able to deal with this. Blue Flame Hellions aren't going to kill off, you know, an entire army moving forward. So he absolutely needs good spots with those siege tanks.
Well, MMA is powered up very well off 2 bases here. He's got a lot of production and he's got a large army. He's moving through the middle here. This is the part of the game where Bomber's defense must be, it has to be solid. There's no other way. You cannot allow yourself to be broken here. You don't need to rush out to take your 3rd base. You can sit on 2, but you cannot allow your opponent to drop you, to contain you, to deal damage in any shape or manner.
Exactly, because overall, he's actually picked up some of these Hellbats. He's looking to push out against this. Some of the Hellbats on the left-hand side didn't really do the damage that they needed to do. This is a good concave setup here by MMA as well. He's pushing forwards, killing off so many Hellbats, and now it's only naked siege tanks at the back, but it's not that big an army here for Bomber.
Yeah, Bomber got brutalized there as he moved down, and a big drop coming into the main base here. Tanks do move into position to deal with it, but I feel that MMA has got quite a good position here.
Yeah, as we said before, the big vulnerability in this mech when he's trying to make it work, when he's also behind. The SCVs come off the line. A lot of those are dying off to the siege tank fire, and he doesn't even have that much army himself to push this back in the end. MMA is having great trades overall, even losing the majority of his.
Absolutely, and all he's got to do is pick off units here and just kind of wear Bomber down. Supply difference is not too big between the 2 of them, but a good set of attacks there from MMA. He's lost a little bit of his momentum, though, as he did throw all his units into Bomber. And Bomber, still with quite a few left, is going to move down to take this 3rd base. Did lose SCVs in trade-off.
Cute little move there with that one last Marine to get that siege tank for MMA. Really trying to just make up for any position there at the front. But at least, well, he's got a little bit of a position set up outside here. The 3rd bases, though, are going down at a relatively similar time with Bomber trying to catch up.
This is good for Bomber there. Maybe MMA overextended a little bit there. I think clearing up the 3rd was good. The drop of the main base didn't work as well, but he's still got a decent position here. A siege tank that has range into the mineral line is always very good to have. To be able to deny your opponent that mining time. And another drop coming in.
There's a few siege tanks here, though, already to be able to push this away. So MMA doesn't want to continue overextending. Again, you've got to be wary about these Vikings as well, as Bomber currently has the better position air dominance-wise at this frontal position.
Yeah, pretty... But I mean, there's not too much of a difference between the 2 players right now. MMA's still the one controlling the game. He's got a bit of an army advantage. The supply is very similar, which is actually pretty good here for Bomber. But MMA, while being the aggressive player, can find areas to further his lead. Like mentioned before, this is the area to do so. And right now, unfortunately, there is a gray area for Bomber, which is left of his natural, which he just didn't even think of. And MMA walks in and says, well, you don't have anything here. You didn't expect me to just walk up the front door. And now look at this. It's just a huge amount of damage coming in from MMA.
Yeah, the mech position isn't enough here, as the bio is going to be able to try and tear this down. He's repairing it, though. He's going to be able to save this command center while the siege tanks on the right-hand side shell away at some of that bio. He took some damage, but overall, saving the command center was okay for Bomber.
But he's lost position on his natural. He cannot mine from this location, which is very good for MMA. A counter drop is coming in to try to bring down this SCV count. And how many are we going to get here? There's not too many SCVs there. He only gets about 3 or 4.
Yeah, almost mined out at this location, so can easily transfer away and go to another place. Picking up some of these units. Where is he going to go with that? The Hellbat's trying to do something, but they're going to go to the natural.
Bomber's weakness was that left flank. He did not see this. He did not expect it. And now he's being punished for it.
And looking to drop in here, but again, good reactions there from MMA. Another drop in this mineral line too, so he's denying a lot of mine time, but MMA likewise is dropping in multiple locations. Both players stretching each other thin and denying so much mining.
But the most important part of this for this series for MMA is that he's not dead. He's leading in this series, and that's what he needed to do coming to map number 2 here. He's inside the main base, he's on the third base, he's on the natural as well. MMA in 3 locations aggressively while defending at the same time. This is what we needed to see from MMA, and this is going to bring him equal in this series. All he's got to do is close it up, keep on defending versus those Hellbat drops, and he is looking at a 1-1 in this series.
Targeting down some extra SCVs there as well, and just macroing back at home, keeping himself in a good spot, at the same time trying to reposition onto that third base, always keeping the pressure on, knowing that the meching player cannot gather momentum any further.
Exactly.
It's a really nice play here so far by MMA.
Just keep throwing units at your opponent, keep wearing him down, and that's where victory will lie.
And trying to find angles here is Bomber to bring himself out of this hole he's found himself in. That's a good pickup once again for MMA, who keeps bringing down anything that Bomber wants to try and throw at him.
He's completely dominating. He's on the second half of this map, or on Bomber's side of the map, should we say. He's mining efficiently, he's building a lot of units, he's got his 2 upgrade seconds from completing, and he's got so many multiple different angles to attack from. Bomber's got to defend in so many locations, it's almost impossible to do so. Now he's defending this ramp area. Is his main base exposed? Is the back of his natural now exposed? Are these areas where MMA will want to pick up in medevac to start to swing around? Because it looks like Bomber's kind of fortified the front door, but there are other weak spots to kind of exploit. Look at this, there's nothing here. A drop around the side, instant death. Drop into the main base, instant death. These are things where MMA needs to start to pick up and try to find a way to, once again, do damage to Bomber.
And Bomber, in the end, trying to gain some traction, but as you said, you know, if you're trying to kind of macro up and get all your army going at the same time and defending the front so heavily, how are you going to be able to defend your main? You have a few missile turret shot. Oh, and that Hellbat, spotting that
Kind of sees it, and that is more than enough there for Bomber to notice what's going on. He doesn't really have a circle of turrets here, and 3 medevacs will get in.
At least 1 siege tank's already there to help on out. He has to pick up some of the Hellbats to get back, though. Overall, trying to clean this up. The bio, though, is getting all right trades for him. It's not too terrible here for MMA.
No, I mean, it looks like MMA's going to break a couple of these tanks, and that is great. Good micro there from Bomber to save one of them, but he's not going to be able to save all of them. SCVs are going to die here, and MMA trading off. Again, good trade-off there, good damage done, decent defense from Bomber. But Bomber must keep the defensive game up. He must stabilize. He must have all areas of weakness covered. Once he does that is when he doesn't take damage and starts to build up that army. But for now, I think his front door is fortified. His main base is becoming more defended. There are still other areas, but Bomber is doing it. He's playing well, he's defending well.
Slowly here at this point, as he's just a little bit behind in terms of army supply, overall behind a little bit in worker supply, and +3 weapons is on the way for MMA as well.
If Bomber takes this 4th base and takes his pocket 4 expansions and defends all 4, MMA's in trouble. Then he needs to start thinking of a switch up, air switch up, you know, rapid expansions, other ideas. Right now, Bomber's started to make the defense possible. As good as MMA's been able to find weaknesses, is as good as Bomber's been able to deflect and kind of defend his own weaknesses.
He is finding a little bit of room here, a little bit of traction, even denying the 4th base from continuing production here as he flies on forwards to have a little bit of a look around once again, see if he can do some damage in that natural mineral line, but there's not too much room. So he has to be careful about where he wants to take these engagements. Every unit is very... But look at the supplies now. Bomber really evening things up. The workers are even. The meching army is slowly gaining really good traction.
And I love these drops by Bomber. Keeping the pressure off himself and putting it onto MMA to allow him to establish these bases. MMA's having a hard time, or he's not really having a hard time, but he's really focused on defending these type of drops. Even though some of them are getting damaged, some aren't getting damaged, it's all about the time and the pressure that Bomber's relieving from himself. He's got those 4 bases up and running. Does he have them all defended? Possibly at this point. But this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky for MMA. He's about to have +3 attack complete. That is going to help in these fights. but does he have enough to break Bomber? Because this, as mentioned, is starting to favor Bomber.
Yeah, you don't just, even though you have all these upgrade advantages, you don't just charge into a tank line and pray to God that it doesn't go back too deep, because right now Bomber's tank line is going to be going back quite deep if those 3 siege tanks on this right-hand side just position themselves nicely. So MMA from here on out still has to find angles on the left and the right and try and draw this meching player a little bit to either side.
Yeah, and Bomber's already building Vikings and adding on Thors, so an air switch at this point from MMA is a little bit difficult to implement, and I really have to commend Bomber for thinking ahead already. He's thinking moves ahead. He's like, okay, I've defended. It doesn't look like you can break me, so what are you going to do? Are you going to make an air switch, which is the most popular way to play against mech? And he's already thinking about that with adding on Vikings and Thors. This game is now a problem and a puzzle that MMA needs to figure out.
Yeah, and Bomber somehow, some way is still alive, and MMA hasn't found another hole just yet. He drops a scan, sees these siege tanks well positioned for this 4th base, and he's going to be knowing now that the economies are pretty similar at this point.
Bomber is going to push out soon. No doubt, he has to push out soon. He's got a huge army. He's got enough to defend and attack at the same time. The question is, what does MMA do? He's got a siege tank line in the middle of the map to try to hold the line. He's got a sensor tower to see the army coming. He's having a scan around, as we can hear and see. He's expecting this push to come. And here it is. How does MMA deal with this? If we see, I think Bomber's going to attack into this.
Yeah, he may do.
Maybe not. He might try to drop these Hellbats onto the army, then move in with the rest. And I think that's the approach he's going to take, and MMA hold the line.
All right, here come the Hellbats raining down from the sky very quickly to try and soak up some of this damage, position themselves against some of this bio as well. There's so many units loaded up in these medevacs, not really helping out in the fight, but in the end, the bio is able to hold a little bit strong, but he had to trade some of the siege tanks away for that fight.
Yeah, it did, but MMA does hold the line. If that had been broken, then he could have pushed forward. Bomber's got a huge Viking lead currently, which means he can edge the Vikings back and crawl towards the middle here. Of course, the Zalnog Tower very important at this point, but he can take the air dominance.
Yeah, those Vikings doing a lot of work here, really providing him great vision. That 1-4 moves forwards and tanks up a lot of the damage overall. And he saw the majority of his opponent's army, so he knows what he's playing against right now.
MMA cannot lose the center of the map. Loses that Zalnog Tower, the game heavily in favor of Bomber, which means Bomber controls the expansions, because currently MMA can still do it, and that was a nice pick-off there. A nice pick-off from MMA and a slight mistake from Bomber, as MMA does have a 5th base to the top left. But still, he's starting to lose the middle here. That tank is gone. He has no vision range. Bomber can edge forward now. Bomber can take the Zalnog Tower. And oh my God, MMA is starting to feel the pressure. He's loaded up 3 medevacs full of units. Can he pull Bomber back? Can he keep the attention of Bomber away from the push?
He's got to be very, very careful here, as he needs units to be able to deal with this. If he can get some SCVs, anything here, even like a factory or something, a command center, all the damage is good. He's also pressuring on this right-hand side as well, getting another cancellation whilst he has that base up to the top left-hand corner. Trades for here so far for MMA are doing all right.
Brilliant play under pressure when you're facing a mech army pushing through the middle. You are very frightened, but MMA is moving down the right flank. He's dropping on the natural. He's buying himself time, and most importantly, Claris, he's trading off his army supply while being able to replenish it, and that is so good. 2 minutes ago, Bomber was at 200 supply. He's down to 140. He's losing tanks, he's losing Hellbats, and MMA is still at 180 supply. He's going to be able to rebuild, and this is some world-class play coming out from the Ace of Terran.
If he's able to hit all these locations, kill off the siege tanks whilst they're in siege, because they have to be moving, what are you going to be able to do here as Bomber? He can't separate himself so thinly. He can't give up.
The supply difference. It's 120 to 190 from a push that looked like it could go straight through the middle and potentially end the game. MMA has turned this one around.
Very, very good stuff here from MMA. And overall, look at this. Bomber had to give up the position in the middle that he had because he doesn't have that many units to be able to hold on at the back, and his economy's ravaged.
He lost everything. His economy, the majority of his army, his positioning. Beautiful play. And now the tanks are on siege. Free gift here for Bomber.
That's what happens when you lose a lot of this position, and he goes through GG.